Hey, welcome to Spent Shell Hunting Productions. Another episode, and I just happened to stop at the store on my way home, and I thought it'd be a great idea to film this while I'm cooking dinner. We're going to do a goose stir fry, a quick goose stir fry. We're not going to get too involved with fresh vegetables and such. This is just to show you how quickly you can stop, pick up a few items, and make a nice little dinner for yourself. So here we go. Stay tuned. So to get started here, a couple of the items that I might have had at the house, or I might have to stop and pick up. I needed some cornstarch. I also needed some orange juice, soy sauce. We have some base here, chicken base. You can buy, it's like chicken bouillon, it's just not in cubes. This mixes up a little bit better. It's like a paste. Something that we use in food service to make quick stocks. We've got some rice, garlic, ginger, some nutmeg, some turmeric, and I just picked up a bag of broccoli and cauliflower and carrots for the stir fry. And just so you know ahead of time, this is a 16-ounce bag. So I'm going to put these in a microwave, and I'm going to just thaw them a little bit because I don't want them frozen. And obviously we have our almighty goose breast. And I have this cleaned just like I showed you in our first video with the pecan wild goose I'm sorry, the pecan crusted wild goose video, and we're going to go ahead and go ahead and cut it and prepare it and get it ready for in the frying pan. So first up, let's go ahead and get our rice together. Now, for those who know how to cook rice, bear with us because not everybody knows how to cook rice. So to do a perfect rice, and this is a long grain wild rice. We're going to do 1 cup of rice. See if I can do this without spilling it all over the place. It's usually impossible to do. Success. I'm not done yet, I guess. There it goes. Always comes out where you don't want it to. Okay, I got 1 cup. And we're going to need 2 cups of water. So it's always 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water for long grain white rice. Now we're just going to make this a plain rice, just like you might get in the Chinese restaurant. We're going to put like about a tablespoon of butter in there. You can use oil if you want. Butter gives it a little bit better flavor. And we're going to take this over on the stove. We're going to put a lid on it. And as I continue with the video, I'm going to put it on the stove. I'm going to put it on medium heat and bring it to a boil. And then I'm going to turn it down to a really slow simmer. And at that point, it'll take about 20 minutes on the stove. So our next step is to make the sauce. So I pre-mixed 2 cups of chicken stock. Put that in the pan. And we're going to measure a quarter cup of soy sauce. And this is a 1/2 cup of a measure, so I did a half of a half. We're going to do a little bit of orange juice. That's about a 1/2 cup. Then teaspoon of garlic, chopped garlic. Just a dash of black pepper. A quarter cup of sugar. You can do a scant quarter cup, a little less than. Now for our spices, we're going to add just a pinch of turmeric. A scant half teaspoon of ginger. You can go with a full teaspoon there. I'm sorry, half teaspoon. And a quarter teaspoon, let's go with an eighth a teaspoon of nutmeg. And we're going to mix all that together. So to recap that, it was 2 cups of chicken stock, a quarter cup of soy sauce, a half a cup of orange juice, garlic, a pinch of turmeric, our ground ginger was a quarter teaspoon, and our nutmeg was an eighth of a teaspoon. Now we're going to take our whip, we're going to mix that all together. And we're going to taste it. Get a clean spoon, and you can adjust it how you like it. Perfect. And now we're going to take this over to the stove while our rice is cooking. And we're going to put this on low heat to bring this up to a boil. So now, I thawed our vegetables in the microwave on defrost, and they're still just a tad bit frozen, just a tad. That's good. They're just not rock hard. Now, I did have one onion here that I wanted to use up that was in my refrigerator. So I'm going to cut that in half, and I'm going to make some small slivers, like half slivers. And that's all we need there with that. We'll put the rest of the onion aside. And we're going to put that right in our veggies. So here you can see our rice. I brought it to a boil. As soon as it boiled, I turned it down to a very low simmer. You can see you can hardly almost see the flame on it. It's so slow, and it takes about 20 minutes. We'll lift the lid off. We're going to leave the lid off here for a little bit, and we got nice fluffy steamed rice. Perfect every time. So we're going to leave the lid off, and we're going to let it steam out. Then, after about 4 to 5 minutes, we are going to put the lid back on, just to keep it warm for us for our stir fry. So in the meantime, our sauce is getting ready, and I measured out a quarter cup of cornstarch and a quarter cup of water. I'm going to take my clean hands, I washed them, and we're going to stir that up until you don't feel any lumps in there anymore. Then, while we're waiting on the sauce, we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut up our goose breast. And this is is the goose tender. This is like a chicken. You heard of chicken tenders? This is the goose tender. And the goose tender is same place as a chicken or any other fowl. It's underneath of the breast, right between the breast and the rib cage. It's a very tender piece of meat. And we all know it that kids like to eat the chicken nuggets and stuff. Well, that was the original chicken nugget. So now, we're going to go ahead and use that chicken tender. We're just going to cut it like that. Now this one here, we're going to cut these into a little bit thicker slices than I did on my pecan video. If you notice, I'm slicing sideways on the breast. I'm across the meat, but kind of on the bias here a little bit. And the reason I'm cutting a little bit thicker, I'm a very avid believer in cutting tougher meats small and thin. Is we're actually going to take this and we're going to cut those in half again. So basically this is what I sliced off. I sliced it off, it lays down like this. I'm going to slice it in half again, lengthwise. And that gives us a nice piece. Oh, I missed some silver skin. There we go. And this is going to give us some nice pieces in the stir fry, nice and chunky. Great. We'll put that in the bowl, reserve that, throw that away, and we're going to get to our sauce. Okay, it looks like our rice is fairly well steamed off. And the reason you want to steam off your rice is because if you just pull it off and you leave the lid on it, it keeps all that moisture in there and your rice can tend to be sticky and gummy. And if you can see, this is nice fluffy white rice here. Came out perfect. Now that's been lid off for about 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to put it back on to keep it warm. We're going to kick up this burner. Bring our sauce over. And if you remember, we have our cornstarch and water, which in food service we call that a slurry. Now you might not use all of this, so I always like to mix up a little more than what I need. So we're going to take and we're going to check to make sure that it's all dissolved. It is. We're going to bring this up to a boil. And now remember, you want to thicken this as soon as it comes to a boil. You don't want to let it sit there for 5 or 6 minutes boiling, because it's going to reduce, you'll lose some water, and your sauce will get stronger and stronger and stronger. So we're going to add some cornstarch. We're going to add that to the sauce, and we're going to stop there. As you can see, it's starting to get thick. And I still have some left, so I'd rather have a little bit extra left. And there we go. We got our sauce made. And we let it come back up to a boil. That's the thickening power of the cornstarch. So folks, what I'd like to explain is what I do differently with the stir fry is most people fry the meat and then they throw in the vegetables, then they throw in their stock or their pre-mixed stock with the soy sauce, and then thicken it up raw at the same time in the pan. And by doing that, if you're not careful, you end up overcooking your meat and overcooking your vegetables until you bring your stock back up or your broth back up to a boil and able to thicken it. So basically what I like to do is, now I've already made my sauce in the back here. I don't have to worry about it. I already made my rice. I'm done. And I did all this while everything was cooking together. And now I've put about 3 tablespoons, not quite a quarter cup, just enough oil to coat the bottom of the pan, of this flat pan. And we're just going to use a regular pan, just like you would have it at your house. If you have a wok, it's fantastic. Use it. That's great. If you don't, or you don't know how to use a wok, this is a flat pan. It's going to work just fine. So what we're going to do here is I actually have a little more oil in there than what I really want. So I'm going to drain some out. just a little bit. I just want enough to coat the bottom. And I want to get it hot. I want to get it hot. So here we have our goose. And we're going to sprinkle just a little salt on it. Only just a little because of your soy sauce and your salt. I mean in your sauce. Then we're going to put some black pepper on it. We're going to mix that around. And basically what I do is I do my stir fries in stages. So let's see how hot this oil is. Yeah. I think we're pretty good. It's sizzling. I'm going to crank that up to a medium-high heat. But here with this goose, remember what we talked about. We want to keep it mid-rare to medium. We don't want to overcook this. So we got this in. It's sizzling. It smells great. We're not going to disturb it. We're not going to do anything with it. We're going to let that brown a little bit on that side. I went ahead and disturbed it anyway, didn't I? Just kidding. So we're going to let that get a nice brown on that side. We got our sauce on low heat over here. And you know, one trick that folks, one trick you can do is if your low is not low enough, then you can just pull your pan off the burner just a little bit, so that it's only catching a little bit of the heat. But my burner goes slow enough. You're going to do that. That's a good trick, especially with electric. So we're going to flip this around, stir it. Get the other side done, or browned off. Sorry if my arm's in the way. I'm trying to make so you can see what I'm doing. And by the way, doing this, I used to do it the other way. I did it all in one pan, and I get so many more compliments now because everything is just like cooked perfectly. Now normally I put a splatter guard on these so you don't get that popping and splatter, but that wouldn't be very good because you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. Flip this over. And I'm going to take this out. Let's take a look at what it looks like inside right now. It's a little red yet. We're going to wait another minute. And I probably could have cut that goose a little bit smaller. So we're going to pull this out right now. Still rare. And next, we're going to throw in our veggies. Don't add anything to the pan, just throw the veggies right in. And I don't want to cover it because I don't want this broccoli to release a bunch of water into the bottom of the pan, and at the bottom of the pan gets all watery from the condensation. I just want to leave it open, and that's really particularly why you want to thaw your vegetables first. We're going to get them hot. And now, my veggies are still crispy. They're not frozen. Throw in my goose breast. That little bit of juice that was in the bottom is perfect to give a little bit of flavor. And now we're going to add our sauce. Let's see how we did here. That's about, looks like about the right amount. We didn't use it all. If somebody wants more, they can add more over the rice. And then we're going to turn this down to a low simmer. I'm going to add just a little bit more. That sauce is almost the perfect amount. I'm going to let that cook for a minute and we're done. So here's our final product. Get our nice hot steaming rice. Fluff it up a little bit. And we're going to put a little bit right in the middle. Push it out a little bit. And if you want to, you can just put it right in a bowl. And we're going to take our nice veggies and sauce and our goose. And I did taste a piece. I couldn't wait. The flavor is delicious. And the goose is just a little bit on the tougher side than chicken. It's not going to be like chicken or pork, so you got to remember that. One thing, if you want to, you can cut your goose a little bit smaller than what I have here. And I'm making some here for my wife. She likes a lot of vegetables. So. And there you go. Hey, so let's give this a try here. Let's give it a taste. Now I did take my goose out and I cut it up just a little bit more. But doesn't that look delicious? And how more organic can you get? Wild goose. Absolutely delicious. You gotta try this recipe. So thanks for tuning in. Again, hit that subscribe button and hit me a thumbs up. Here's to good hunting, good eating, and good times.